Check me out. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Mile High Mentors podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Very, very excited to have you here no matter where you're listening to this podcast. Please do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, give us your feedback. We are here to make this a great platform for you guys and bring you guys all the information and resources that we do. My name is Connor Doobie. I am your host each and every single episode. And when you're on social media, give us a shout. Again, we want to make this a great platform for you, and we can't do that without your feedback. So, by the way, quick question for you guys. Do you sell products or services business to business? You sell your products or services to another company? I would really recommend you check out our partners over at activeblogs.com. You can check them out, and they are putting on a webinar. If you feel like you're not, you probably realize LinkedIn is a great place to be marketing, branding, growing your business. And if you feel like you're not getting the full benefits of what LinkedIn has to offer, they are putting on a webinar. It's called The Missing Links to LinkedIn Success. You can check that out at activeblogs.com/webinar. Again, activeblogs.com/webinar. The Missing Links to LinkedIn Success. Okay, our guest today, Mr. Nicholas Bayerly. Bayerly. I hope I'm saying that right, brother. He was out here. We got a quick window to meet with him from California. He's the CEO and founder of the $1 Billion Body, which is a great organization. Recommend checking you out. And him and his wife, Amanda, are a powerhouse couple. Not only that, just really genuine, great human beings. Nicholas is really, and he's said it over and over in our podcast and also in the event that he spoke at that I attended right after. He is there to serve people, to help people. And when you meet with him, it's very genuine. It's true. And you know that he's going to change a lot of lives. So I'm very excited about what him and his wife, Amanda, are doing. And we talk about some really cool stuff. I'm very excited to share his insights. This dude is wise beyond his years. I've talked with a lot of entrepreneurs, and Nicholas is young, but he is very, very wise ahead of his years. So without further ado, please welcome Nicholas to the Mile High Mentors podcast. Dude, here we are in Denver.
Yeah, dude, I'm so pumped to be here.
So, you guys flew in this morning?
No, yesterday.
They flew in yesterday?
Yeah, so we did a dinner last night with Frankie's, I think, mastermind is what he calls it.
Yep.
Inner Circle mastermind. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And then did some more meetings today and did some stuff with Frankie, went over his stuff. So.
Where'd you guys go eat at?
I don't even know what it's called. I had a poke bowl. Today I ate at Protein Bar.
Protein Bar is bomb.
Yeah, that was fun.
But also, you guys get there's probably so many restaurants like Protein Bar out in California. I mean,
oh yeah,
all that stuff is brought over here to Denver pretty much.
That's exactly what I say.
Yeah.
I say that California sets the tone for the entire U.S., and everyone just picks and chooses what they want, and they're behind by 2 to 5 years. Usually.
Yeah. East Coast and West Coast kind of shrink in. I was in New York earlier this week, and
what is the East Coast?
They got some trendsetters.
What?
I mean, I couldn't think of anything. Definitely not the health movement.
You got Vans shoes that came from California that went out this way.
Right.
You have like all the beach look and all that kind of stuff. Like no one thinks about the East Coast beach when they think of like the beach bum look. It's all like Southern California, like I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of biased because I'm born and raised. So
yeah. So you're born in where were you born?
I was born in San Diego. So I was born like 20 minutes east of La Jolla, if people know.
And your wife too?
My wife was born in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
got it.
Ohio. So
and how did you guys meet?
So we met at a youth event. That's why I think events are so big. Like events tonight that we're at is that if I didn't go to this youth event at 18 years old, my wife went there at 17 in Kansas City, we would have never met. So
Wow.
we met at event. Usually events draw like-minded people. And then from there, we got accepted in the same school right after high school. And we met inside of a Facebook group. So really, Facebook is what brought us together.
Wow.
Facebook group, she posted a Ferrari Jet and said, I want one of these. And I was like, what 17-year-old ever would say that?
Right.
And so I was like, I friended her, sent her a message, was like, hey, this is so cool. And we ended up looking at my pictures. I had one picture of that event. She was sitting right in front of me.
Wow.
30,000 people.
And you just so happen to be like in that Facebook group, engaging.
And
So-
we didn't even know we met each other there, really. Like, we had no clue. Legit, we, like, got on a Skype. I didn't even have a camera at the time because this was so long ago.
Right.
It was, like, 8 years ago or whatever.
How old are you now?
26.
You're 26? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we got married at 20 and 18.
That's crazy,
So we
man.
married 6 years, and we spend, like, 12 to 16 hours a day minimum together.
That's
Every
incredible.
day. Yeah.
How do you swing something like that? Let's first take a step back. What is it that you do, and how are you helping people right now?
Got it. So I have a men's community, and I used to in the past like create products and services and sell them. I've always been pretty good at selling things since I was
What do you
a
mean
kid.
by that? By creating products and services and selling them?
So let's say you're a health guy and you're like, cool, I'm going to create a 6-week challenge and I'm going to go find people and sell it, or I'm going to be a carpet
Like a
cleaner.
training program or something like that?
Yeah, or a service. Like I owned a carpet cleaning restoration company. I have a carpet cleaning service, and now I'm going to go sell it and find people that want to buy it. The difference is instead finding the people that you want to serve, which is what I do now, a group of high-level businessmen that feel that it is their destiny to run businesses and want to do it without sacrificing their personal life. And so I have a community of men, a certain type of people that I'm serving, and through that now I'm trying to figure out what's the best thing I could do to push their life forward. Rather than, I have this product, now who needs it?
Right.
I have this service, who needs it? I'm like, my products and services morph based on their needs because I'm here to serve them more than I'm here to like have a product and service. And Jay,
Help them with their product and service more at a high level rather than the other way around. Yeah.
So with that, we have a high-level community of men. Our goal, our vision is to redefine what it means to be a businessman, meaning that the dictionary definition of businessman, like if you look it up right now, it will be shifted in a few decades, maybe less than a few decades, into my definition, and people will know what it means to be a businessman for my community.
Right.
Meaning that they'll be living a life that's worth modeling. Right now, Cash Me Outside Girl just came out with a new CD, and there's like there's straight up 3-year-olds, dude, that are like dropping F-bombs. And I'm like, why?
In the CD or
No,
as a result?
on Instagram, yeah, it's like like all these different Instagram stories, Snapchat, like 3-year-olds,
Right.
And it's not
Wasn't
because,
that like from some Jerry Springer show or something?
It was
Catch
from
Me Out-
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil? Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
But think about this for a second. Has she ever told a 3-year-old, hey, the key to success is to cuss at 3 years old? No.
Right.
She lived a life, and the kid's just modeling that life.
Right.
So if I have businessmen and I help them become more successful, have better relationships, have better health, all of a sudden with that influence, what's that going to create? More people that do the same exact thing. And the thing with our community is 50% of success is just showing up. Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, if you just show up.
Dragging yourself
Dude,
when you
we
don't
got
want to do
badass
it.
people in the
Right.
community. It's like you don't have to do it alone. Simple as that. So that's our mission right now. We do it through live events. We do it through online platforms. And I also have an incubator for businessmen, my top 40 guys that all invested together. We meet 3 times a year, and I bring in my network to connect them with and really like try to grow those 40 people.
That's awesome, man. So your family, do you come from a family of entrepreneurs or salespeople? What's the background there?
Yeah, so I don't know. My grandpa, he retired at 55 on 90% pay. So he was just legit. And from there, he was able to do whatever he wanted to.
Right.
But my uncle and my dad always have ran businesses. So my uncle, he ran like a huge apparel company and partnered with a bunch of other people. So they were always friends with business owners. And then my dad ran the carpet cleaning and restoration company still for 30 years.
Wow.
So I would
and
say
he's
he
still
was
doing
a
that
business owner.
now?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would say he was a business owner, not so much of an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur really builds businesses and then from there has them run on their own and is really outside of the business working on it, not necessarily in it. So I would say he was a business owner. But from that, it taught me a valuable lesson that if he had a weed whacker and a lawnmower, my dad told me, that he would never, ever go broke and he would never have to get a job.
Right.
And so at a young age, that's what I did. 12 years old, I was making like $250 a week with my own jobs and ended up having thousands of dollars in savings as a kid.
That's
and
awesome.
It was all because my dad taught me those things at the beginning. So my number one mentor for the first I would say 18 years, maybe even longer, even though I didn't even like my dad that much at the beginning, was my dad.
Right.
I learned so much from my father. It was the fact that my parents split up that I really had a problem.
Right. Interesting. And when did that happen? What age were you when that happened?
4.
You're 4? Yeah. Yeah, no, and that totally resonates with me. Like my dad, he's an entrepreneur, has had his agency for 18 years now. So, you know, we never got along when I was younger too, which is fascinating to hear you say that. Now we're best friends, and we, you know, I really cut my teeth on sales and found a huge passion for marketing through that. My parents are split up also, so I totally get where you're coming from. So, yeah. So your dad, your uncle, those were influencers on you early on in the days. When did you feel, you know, you're a genuine dude, and I follow you on Instagram. I see your stuff. I listen to your podcast. You're a great guy. And when did you kind of build that self-awareness? Was it very early on that you realized you wanted to help a lot of people, or did that kind of grow as you grew? And
yeah, I always felt like I was behind the 8 ball, really. Like,
do you still feel that way? Like you're behind the curve?
For what I'm capable of, absolutely. But I'm more focused on, like, I'm clear on where I'm going to the point where I'm able to act like that now. Like, I already feel like I know the beginning from the end. So when people want to diss me, or people want to do, like, say something about me, or if someone doesn't buy something from me, I just don't care. Because I'm like, dude, I already know what's going to happen. I can see my exact steps forward, and I know what the end of the day is going to look like in 20 years.
Right.
And that's going to happen regardless of anyone else.
Yeah.
And so for me, dude, I'm just, like, pumped about it. I'm like, I already believe it's going to happen, whether someone wants to join me or not. I'm like, it's kind of like if you already know in 20 years what the end destination is going to be like.
Yep.
Which means that if someone doesn't want to connect with you, you're like, obviously you're not part of the mission. No big deal, but I already know what's going to happen.
Right.
So with that type of vision, I feel like that's really transformed my life. And it's really given me the confidence to do what I do today. But I would say growing up, I felt behind the 8 ball in the way that everyone was always better than me at stuff. Maybe I was comparing myself to the best, but it felt like they were more self-aware. I feel very self-aware now, at least to an extent. I have great mentors, great people around me. It's not a personal self-awareness. I don't really believe in it. I believe having counsel around you really allows you
to create
know,
that self-awareness.
Yeah, you could be in delusion and think
Right.
you're self-aware.
That's true.
But
That's
ask your
absolutely true.
friends if you're actually self-aware.
Right.
And so having great mentors and friendships and my wife around me all the time, I can kind of have someone check on me at all times and be like, hey, am I being a jerk? Am I off message? Am I doing things correctly? Could I go harder? Whereas back in the day, I didn't feel like I had this. So I would say my self-awareness really started to come about when I was about 18 years old. I had a pretty life-transforming event occur, I would say. And then from that process going forward, I became more and more self-aware. And then, man, I don't know, like I've had many problems throughout my life, and I feel like it's just been a constant journey of like bettering myself. And as I've bettered myself and had mental shifts, my business has grown, my relationship has grown, my investment in myself has grown. It hasn't been tactics. It's been always like that mindset shift, which is why I do everything to get around good people, which is why I flow out to Denver.
Right,
so,
yeah. And so what happened? You said you had a life event happen. What occurred?
So for me, it was like I never had gone to church before in my entire life. My dad never went to church. My stepmom never went to church. And I don't talk about this tons, but my stepmom went to church all the time, but my dad didn't. So meaning like I thought the guys were like stayed home and the women went to church. That's what I thought growing up.
Right.
I was so like didn't know anything about this whole world that people at my school were like, hey, are you Christian or Catholic? And I was like, I don't know. Like I have no clue. And I was like, which one's which? And they're like, well, Christians don't drink or do anything like that, and Catholics, like, they go to church, but they drink. And I was like, oh, well, then I'm Catholic. Because, like, my dad was, like, always drinking tons. Like,
right.
My dad drank a lot. So, in that process, I was like, we must be Catholics. No clue. So I'd never been to church or anything like that. And then I remember just, like, feeling like, man, there's got to be something bigger out here. At around 18 years old, I was like, at this point, I had lost 60 pounds. I had a six-pack. I was feeling like I was surfing every day, and like I was pouring myself into activities and not really finding any fulfillment. And I was like, why am I here?
Right.
This sucks. So I just searched for like months and months and months and months, and I ended up meeting a friend named Spencer Robbins. I was actually in his wedding just a few weeks ago. We just got married.
Nice.
He was my best man at my wedding as well. And just the process we took together of like finding purpose, finding why we're on this planet, and really figuring out like, man, is God real? Like, is God for us? Is he against us? What is this like? Like, is everything work together for good for us? Can we actually like, are we actually created for a purpose? I think this is really interesting. This is just a side note. I never talked about this. Like,
bring it out, man. Bring it out.
We're creating like artificial intelligence and like robots and things like that. And we've been on this earth for quite a while. No matter what the debate is, like thousands of years minimum, right? Like we already know we're in 2080 or 2018 AD, which means that we're at least 2000 plus those other BCs documented.
Right.
So let's just say documentation-wise, we've been on the Earth for a while. We can make such amazing things. And I watched this weird YouTube or Facebook video that targeted me. It's basically these women dolls that these guys are buying that actually have, like, computer brains. And they learn to love you and they respond to you and all these different things. Really weird, but men have such a high suicide rate right now. They're, like, building these dolls. I don't know what they do with these dolls.
Sex dolls.
Well, I'm not even sure, but I'm sure they do. But from just it's just so interesting to me.
But a sex doll that can love you? That's pretty interesting.
It's interesting to see what will happen.
Yeah.
But what's even more interesting is that we're so smart. Computers are so smart. Like these dolls
smart
are
because of us.
So complex.
Right?
Yeah, but they're actually dumb as shit.
Right.
Like God,
without us, without the even, intelligence behind it.
Yeah, even.
And I've had this discussion with someone else on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Like artificial intelligence is just it doesn't exist. We are artificial intelligence in a way, but you're going around somewhere. I want to hear what your point is. With
at the end of the day, I'm saying that even our best product of what we can create to try to mimic a human is still just like ridiculous. Siri is an example. Siri, if she messes up, if something's said wrong, like it's just everything breaks down. They don't have this like the ability to feel and say and respond and observe all these crazy things at the same time that somehow we just like evolved from. Like just boom is here.
Right.
And we could feel, talk, smell, hear, and like
consciousness,
and just feel all like have all this and respond and like think and have a million thoughts going at once. Whereas like the computer is just computing. Based on like what we program it to do. So our best program is still so far off from an actual human. It's just very interesting to me that somehow something random happened.
Right.
So I don't think it's random, personally. But to think that something random happened, we just randomly...
To give us intelligence, like the ability to feel and process. So is that chalked up to a religion then? Do you feel that's more of a religious aspect? For people, I think it's experiential is what people needs to happen. People talk about religion all the time. Right.
Religion is a set of rules that people follow. Do I think they're good? Yeah, there's a lot of things that are good. Don't kill people. Like, that's probably a good thing to follow. Right? There's a lot of principles that are really good. But if it ends at principle, then absolutely not. Because then there's no experience with anything. And without an experience, at this point, it's just talk. So I really think there has to be some type of experience that happens. And there's many people that have experiences. You probably YouTube, like, is God real? And people are like, you would never believe I drove off a cliff and I didn't die and I had this experience. And, like, for them, that was an experience. But to just be like, read this book, do this because there's this set of rules that says it should be done. You're like, why? Like, has God told you that? And they're like, no, it's like the book. Dude, until you experience something, like, let me know. So I think it should be based off an experience and relationship, not off of a religion, even though I think there's still benefits.
So for you, yours was more of the fulfillment side of things.
Dude, total experience.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden.
In what way? Was there like one key experience that had happened, that had occurred?
So if you want to go down this road, then sure.
Bring it. Might as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very, like I don't think I've ever.
I want to talk about stuff you've never talked about before. So let's.
There'll definitely be stuff. So
yeah.
The true story is this. I spent 7 months using Ouija boards, calling on demonic spirits, lighting candles, and staying up Monday through Sunday in my house during high school. I was a cool kid. I surfed every single week. I was popular in my high school. Like I was just like now, I'm a cool guy.
Right.
But I was like, I need to know if there's something else.
There's
in the
a self-awareness thing again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I need to know if there's something bigger in the world, and so I'm going to go figure it out. So at the time, the popular things were all the movies with, like, you know, people doing, like, demonic stuff or whatever you want to call, like, the spirit calling and all this stuff. So I was like, let's do that. So let's put on a bunch of scary movies. We'll light candles, turn off all the lights, and we'll start doing these things. And the craziest thing is, like, we had crazy experiences, and it really freaked me out and freaked other people out. And at this point, I was like, cool, there's something bigger in the world, but I still feel, like, scared and, like, not very, like... fulfilled. Yeah, exactly. So at this point, I'm like looking for something different. I went surfing with one kid. His name is Kyle Berger. I haven't talked to him in a very long time, but I went surfing with him, and something was different about this kid. Like, just something was different. I kept pushing his buttons, kept trying to get him to talk negatively, kept getting him to, like, do something different. He seemed different, and, like, I don't know, just wasn't the same, like, wasn't as negative, wasn't as rude, and I'm like, this is so weird. So one day I'm feeling unfulfilled. I just got done smoking with a friend, and I'm like, what am I doing in my life? This sucks. I'm a senior in high school at this point, and I'm like, I remember how that kid made me feel, Kyle, when I was with him. So I called him up. I was like, hey man, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to a small group. I'm like, I'd never been to church before. I didn't know what this thing was. So I was like, cool, can I come? And he knows me as the demon kid, right? So he's like, nah, bro, you won't want to go. And I'm like, dude, you play the drums. He must be in a band or something. So I'm like, small group must be like he's jamming out. Like, why can't I show up? So I'm like, dude, I'll be there. I'll see you there in a minute. So what's funny is the place I was trying to get him to go and meet me was the place he was going for this group. So I show up, and apparently a small group is where, like, kids come together outside of church to have a smaller group to talk about things they want to do. No clue at all. So I sit there silent the whole time, and these kids are hungry and passionate about this stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is pretty sick, actually. Like, I like these kids, which is where I met Spencer, my best man, and all these things. So they go, dude, sorry if we're scaring you if you feel uncomfortable. And I'm like, no, dude, like, I call demons in my house all the time. They were like, what? Like,
everyone's looking at you like you're crazy.
Oh, totally trippy.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So at the end of the day, they were like, hey, if you come back, we'll give you a Bible. I'm so illiterate at this time that I don't know people give Bibles away for free. So I'm going to my school and I'm like, listen, guys, I'm going to read the Bible cover to cover and I'll let you know how it goes. And the whole week, I'm jazzed, dude. Like, I'm like, dude, I cannot wait to get my hands on this thing. Like, I'm pumped to see why do people read this over and over again. Like, books are normally, like, read and then you read it. Like, it's the same words whether you read it twice or 3 times. But people read this thing every single freaking day. And I'm like, why? So I'm just like, I'm going to go on an exploratory thing and, like, figure it out. It wasn't like, I'm going to become this or become this. I was actually, like, pumped. I was telling my friends at school, I was like, they thought I was, like, crazy. They were like, dude, you're the demon kid and now you're going to, like, grab the Bible. So
probably thought you were possessed.
Yeah, exactly.
Demon
they
came
thought I was
took
like,
over.
They were too scared to come to my house, right?
Yeah.
So I ended up going back and they were like, hey, here's a Bible, but, like, do you want to experience this thing firsthand? Do you want to get to know Jesus? Do you want to do all this? And I was like, hell yeah, dude. I was like, I didn't even know yet. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, this is sick. So I was like, they were like, no, like, you're not really supposed to say that, but, like, whatever. So I just felt different, dude. After that moment, I just felt like I had a different heart. It was really weird. It was an experience, right? It wasn't like they told me what to do, how to live, anything like that. I was like, I want to live differently. I want to live with purpose.
Felt it, yeah.
Oh, dude. I totally felt it. Ask my parents.
And you went to this youth group as a result of this?
I just went there just for, like, fun. It wasn't religion. It wasn't anything. It was just
okay.
I was like, dude, this kid made me feel different when I felt hopeless. That kid, like, I remembered how I felt when I was with him.
Right.
Something was different. He was so new to it. He didn't even want me to go. He was embarrassed for me to show up because he was like, this is the demon kid. Like, I can't bring him here. Like, I'll look bad. So after that moment, dude, I just felt like this deep purpose.
Do they still refer to you as the demon kid?
No.
Can't get them.
No one even knows, dude. I let people know if they want to know. Like, it was a weird, like, moment, but I got...
We've all had weird times in our life. I mean, yeah, I think some of the greatest of the greats have to go... You have to go through that dark period of discovery and just trying to figure things out. I mean, I went through a weird time. That's a whole nother separate conversation before I was finally... Like, when I was my most depressed and suicidal was when I knew I was not fulfilling my purpose and accomplishing what I knew. I was in a bad relationship, which I'm super excited about your talk tonight. You know, I think that's so important in our generation, not to, like, totally shift topics, but our generation is like, the relationships, it's a commodity now, right? In a lot of ways. Love, it's a commodity in a lot of ways. So how do you guys overcome that? I mean, you have a really strong bond. You said you spend 12 to 18 hours a day together.
I mean, technically longer, but some of that we sleep.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're together, actually. We're in the
But you
same
can't
bed.
butt heads when you're sleeping, at least.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I mean, maybe not mentally, unless you're knocking each other's heads.
So I guess we just don't look at the world for an example. If I look at the world for an example, I'm going to get what the world's got, but 97% of people at the age of 65 are either dead or dead broke, relying on their friends, family, and government for their main source of income. Which means 97%, I absolutely want nothing. Like, I don't want a life anything like them.
Right.
So I don't model that. I look at people that I want to model or different relationships that I want to have. And so I guess we really dreamed up, like, what we want our life and relationship to be like. And I think that's, like, the first step of having a great relationship, because things are going to be hard. Even if you have to work hard, it's hard. Like, if you're working all the time and your wife doesn't know why, or your girlfriend doesn't know why, then all of a sudden she's going to be frustrated because she's like, why do you always spend time apart from me? Whereas if you have a vision and you're like, this is our vision, we're trying to accomplish this by this time, then when you're working hard, they're like, your wife or your girlfriend or whoever it is like pumped because she understands why you're doing it. And I think that communication of why is just way overlooked. And people just want people to understand them without communicating. But I still haven't found out how to read minds. I know they're actually trying to figure it out, but, like, I hope they don't figure it out.
Honestly, I think that we will. In our lifetime, we're going to be able to, like, look at each other and be like, I know what that guy's thinking.
Oh, yeah. That would suck, but, yeah.
That's awesome. So what's the number one thing you guys disagree on, butt heads on?
I don't know if there's a number one thing, to be honest.
What are the biggest?
There's just big things.
Yeah. What are the biggest things that you?
I'm super
disagree?
aggressive.
Yeah.
So like, I would say that's the biggest thing. I make super fast decisions. I always need to solve problems, and so like those are the big things. And this is common with guys and girls as well. Like, women love to be heard, and men love to solve problems. So the problem is, women want to tell you about their problems just for you to listen to them, and we're wired to solve them, which makes them feel like they're not cared for at all.
Right.
So I'd say my biggest thing is like, I'm so like aggressive in the way that I communicate that I can come off as like super angry or mad, and that's part of my personality. Like a D personality on the DISC test, or like a red personality on whatever other test.
Yep.
It's like we're motivated by anger. That like our passion sounds like anger. So other people are like, "You're mad." You're like, "No, I'm fired up. Like I'm pumped about this. Like I want to solve this problem. I'm so excited about it."
Right.
And Amanda's like, "No, like this isn't what I want right now." So there's just little tiny things that we butt heads about, and a lot of it's me like just being super aggressive. Like we have a goal, like I'm all ramped up with what we're doing, and then it ends up just coming across as angry, and I'm like, oh, like I'm not angry. It's just like I'm so passionate about finding out this answer or this problem
Right.
or whatever. So with her together, we'd be able to go back and forth on actual problems that we have. But the big thing is we just communicate through it. If we're having a conflict, which doesn't always have to be with actual like something that happened. You've seen conflicts that happen, and you're like, what did I do?
Right.
And they're just like mad about something else. The big thing is this, like we take 100% responsibility for our own emotions, meaning that I can't change her and she can't change me. We don't sit there and try to. We first take 100% responsibility,
Take ownership
for
for
our
it.
own emotions.
Right.
And then we come together and we communicate on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sitting there trying to fix her. She's not sitting there trying to fix me and trying to please me or anything like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too, and I hear a lot of high-level people talk about this too. Is that the only thing you can control is your own emotions for the most part?
I try it in a relationship.
People are always
Most of them are like trying to like buy something for my wife. I'm going to buy her flowers. I'm going to do this.
Right.
I'm going to do this. Trying to make her feel better. And during that process,
It's more like you got to make yourself feel better. You got to take care of yourself first. You got to be selfish first.
Yeah,
then you can get.
You're the one that
at
gets
that
hurt.
point.
I just had an email come in yesterday, and he goes, "Hey, here's a little coaching. You should be a little bit more careful on your subject lines, not to like be too aggressive with them, because like I get you want people to open your email, but it can turn people away." And I go, "Listen, dude, I appreciate it, but if my subject line in my email made your stomach drop, it's based on your past experiences and things that have happened to you and your perception of what just happened. I can't change that. The only thing I can control is me. I can't control the way you react to what I do."
Right.
End of story. Like,
Right.
I'm sorry,
100%.
but I just can't, like, if you got punched in the face and I went to go shake your hand and you flinched and you're like, "Bro, don't ever put your hand towards me again." I'm like, "No, you're the one that got punched in the face and you still struggle with that. I apologize. I'll stop. I won't do it. But know that, like, you're the one who's flinching because of your past experience." Whereas a kid, I can put my hand in his face. As long as he's never been hit before, he doesn't know what it's like. He won't flinch. Neither
Right.
will a dog. A dog that gets hit, you go to pet it and it's like shrinks back. You're
Right.
like, this dog's obviously been hit before. And now because of that, its reaction every time that happens until it's changed and reprogrammed will be that. Same with humans. I see it every day.
Right. It's awesome. I mean, it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
So, what's your guys' big thing? Talk about $1 Billion Body a little bit first, because I think that's pretty important.
So
And I had to wear my billionaire shirt,
I know, I
billionaire
love
in the making, just for you.
I
Actually,
love
this isn't GC's shirt.
is it?
I found it on Amazon,
Did someone knock it off then?
probably.
Yeah, that's what happens.
But you can't, did he like trademark billionaire in the making?
I don't know. I don't know how that whole thing works.
Oh, I don't know.
I used to sell shirts that said, "How bad do I want it?" And I totally stole the design offline and I printed them on my own and sold them.
Yeah.
Charged them on credit and then took all of it as profit.
There's not a lot of them.
Really?
But I was sitting there someday. I'm like, I need something to just keep me just going forward.
Yeah.
I need a billionaire in the making shirt, because being a millionaire is just not cool anymore, bro.
It's not cool. It's not. I mean, it's just not cool at
Billionaire
all.
is the new, because people are capable of it, but they limit themselves once they
4-minute
hit
miles
that.
and it isn't cool anymore either.
Yeah.
High schoolers do 4-minute miles. So, like, you're just a high schooler now. Whereas
Right.
back in the day, it was like, you were the fastest runner in the world. So for BDB, man, we're just going big. Like, we want the top business leaders. We want leaders of leaders. I don't want followers. Followers look at what everyone else does and then does that.
Right.
Leaders lead by example. They do it, and without anyone else having to do it first. So they set the tone. I want the leaders of leaders in our community. They're going to make the biggest impact, and they want to show up for themselves. They're not showing up to my community because they follow me. They're not a follower. They're a leader. With that, we also want to attract world leaders. So the goal for BDB is that we'll have the highest level of men's community on the planet, which is already obvious is going to happen, and that's why a lot of times people join our community just for that.
Is it like when you say community, I think of like mastermind and what does that mean? Is that what that is pretty much?
Yeah, resources as well.
Everyone's got their own separate
it's like
business.
A family, like,
right?
Because everyone has the same core goals. We create three-dimensional businessmen. Three-dimensional businessmen prosper in health, business, and relationships, and we have a proprietary system for all those things to prosper on a daily routine. And then on top of that, we have a three-dimensional business, which is a vision and mission that's bigger than a product or service. I haven't talked about one product or service. I've talked about the mission and the vision that's bigger than that, and everyone's going to be like, dude, I know they're going to do that. I can hear it from the sound of his voice, and I want to be a part of that. Where do I sign up? It's like, do you even know what you're getting? No. Which means that all I have to do is keep that strong vision to keep them involved with the company. They don't have to care about the product or service. They know that it's going to be good when they show up, and if it's not, then they'll leave. But our products and services are great. From there, a product or service that solves a need or a problem in the world, meaning that you can't get away with being a McDonald's in our company. You cannot be in our community without a product or service that solves a need or a problem. So if McDonald's is adding to a problem, end of story. And they're covering it up with Ronald McDonald House, right? Like, they're giving back.
Oh, yeah, like their charity that they do.
Absolutely. It's like the mob that gives money. Like, great job. You're not a part of our community. The last one's a way to give. Because more blessed is the man that gives than receives. So with that, we're on a mission to create more three-dimensional businessmen, equip them to have more success in their business than ever before.
To redefine business person or businessman.
To redefine what it means. Because right now, you just have to have a business. It's not a lifestyle. $1 billion body is a lifestyle. It's that you are the number one asset. That's why you have a $1 billion body. You treat your body mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally as the number one focus. And then from there, the $1 billion body, we're creating a $1 billion net worth in the community. So the only way we can do this is by helping our guys make a lot more money. So they're like, I'm down. Because like that's the only way we can do it.
Right.
And body also means group. So instead of like looking at it like a community or a mastermind, we look at it as a person. Instead of doing things all on our own, we're building a community that builds one massive person. We are one body, one person, and together we will have a $1 billion net worth. And then from there, we will be able to have more influence than any other community on the planet. Why? Because Bill Gates right now could give everyone in the world $80. What does that do? I spent more than $80 today.
Right.
Thanks. Now you're broke. But if I could get everyone in America to give me $500, I'd be like more rich than he is. Just shows the power of numbers. Everyone in America could contribute $500. They'd sell a car, they could sell the wheels, they could sell whatever. They could not eat for 2 months, right, and fast, because you can live off no food.
Right.
Give $500, and all of a sudden, I'd be able to rack up just as much money. So there's power in numbers. I'm creating the numbers, and I'm also creating the empowerment for these guys
network.
to do that. And the women love it because the women now have leaders back in the household. Men that are leading, that have vision, right? Men always want women to submit, right? Like back in the days, like submission and like women were less than. But submission is actually like contributing to a mission, meaning the woman is there to help fulfill the mission that you have. Most men in the world don't have a mission, so why would they ever expect? Most women are having to lead because.
Well, look at the times. I mean, what you're saying right now, and I don't even want to say, is controversial. That's a weird thing, right?
I hope so.
Right. That the men having the mission, like men need to kind of back up. I posted this is, you're gonna get a laugh at this. I posted a snap of our last DEM group, Denver Elite Men. Anyone listening?
Yeah.
And I got responses on Snapchat like, that's racist. That's not racist. Yeah, they're like, that's sexist. Like. I just posted, I was like, why aren't you here at DEM or whatever? And people are hitting me up like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, like, I was supposed to join this sexist men's group and stuff like that. It's like, really? So if there was a community of women that were supporting one another and building a net worth with each other, doing what you're doing, $1 billion body for women.
Yeah. We actually own $1 billion babes as well. So
cool. $1 billion babes. There you go. Yeah. Would that be sexist?
Nah, it's the whole thing is about supporting each other. Women can talk about periods better than men and women can talk about periods. Men will never understand a period on an actual physical level. Like, a man will hopefully never have a period.
I have
And
4
so-
sisters and 2 moms split.
Got it. So you've
Not like 2 moms, like
you've dealt
together
with plenty
moms.
of them. So you experienced it from
Right.
watching, right? But then there's another thing to experience it through having it.
Right.
I don't think it's even bad for someone in the military that's an amputee
Mm-hmm.
to have a group that's only for that, that's a support group that only they sit there and talk to each other. And they could bring people in. We bring women in to speak to our community.
Right, and that's...
But they've actually gone through it. This is why mine's only businessmen. If you don't have a business, you probably should not be in my community unless you are planning to. Mm-hmm. So now what? Now I'm dividing the men as well. Because I'm like, yeah, you don't understand what it's like to be a businessman and have a relationship. What it's like to be a businessman and go to the gym and eat healthy and do all these different things. To have stresses on your world every single day. You don't just clock in and clock out. And you know exactly how that feels. You're thinking about this stuff all day. Because you don't know exactly what it's going to take to get you from A to B. So you're like, I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Right.
Which means at the gym, you're thinking about calling people. At the gym, you're thinking about texting people. When you're talking to your girlfriend or talking to your wife, you're thinking about work. And, like, that's
Yep.
a different world
That
than
vision.
the guy who just freaking works all day and clocks out and is like, Friday, like, I'm so pumped. And then Sunday comes around, they're so depressed. And, like, it's a whole different world. And I believe the more we can, like, support each other in those areas, like, there's just nothing wrong with that. Until people stop wasting their time on just worthless crap, that's, like, the time.
True.
But if you're spending 30 minutes on the freaking toilet scrolling through Facebook when you could be having a men's group connection, then that's a higher priority. Like, that's like more, that to me is more frustrating. People that waste all their time and don't make a contribution to the world, and all they talk about is all these other people that are doing it wrong. That's what we should be attacking, not the people that are out there actually trying to do something.
And how would somebody who is stuck on the toilet scrolling through Facebook at this point in their life, stuck on the couch, they're eating like shit, what's the first step that they can make to enter that transition
into a community?
Dude,
community, literally you adapt to the environment you're in. There's even a story of lions that I may even tell tonight. There's lions in Africa, and maybe Frankie's stolen it from me, who knows? But there's lions in Africa, and I stole it from someone else.
Yeah.
The normal lion in Africa is about 400 pounds. But there's a pride of lions that moved in Africa to a place called the Congo, which is like the 3rd biggest rainforest and has tons of hippos, which are the #1 predator in Africa.
Right.
Like the meanest things.
Right.
Because of this environment that these lions are in, because of the pressure, and because of this group that they have and this strong pride, they're 150 pounds heavier now.
I think I've heard about this
all
before.
Their lions, they swim, climb trees, and they all hunt hippos. The only pride of lions that actually hunts and eats hippos. Why? Because the environment that they're in, the pressure has caused them to adapt.
Demands
to the
upon that.
Absolutely.
And that's
the same thing.
I'm glad to hear you say that. And that's part of why I wanted to do this podcast too, is helping people feel the confidence to reach up and find that person, find that group, find that, just even that one mentor that is doing bigger things than they are. I do it all the time. It's so easy to look at someone who's more successful than you. You're sitting down with Jay Abraham and be like, wow, I can't get myself around that guy. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you actually go and do it, right? So
Yeah, I just don't think that way, though.
Right.
Because
right.
now I'm looking at me 20 years in the future. 20 years in the future, will I be able to sit next to Jay? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Absolutely.
So what do I do today? Sit next to Jay.
Right.
Am I nervous about DEM? On a conceptual level, yes. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I'm nervous, and, like, I'm going to go speak, and, like, I don't have anything planned, nothing like that, because, like, I don't even know how the event was ran until today. Mm-hmm. Sorry for... but then
we're vetting it all out now, so it's good. Flesh out all the bugs beforehand.
But ultimately, if I think about where I'm at today, I'll be nervous about everything I do. Because every day I'm doing something new that I've never done before to get to where I've never been before. Mm-hmm. If you only do what you know today, you'll never get to where you want to be because you'll only be able to stay where you're at. Where you want to be is going to be hard because it's someplace you've never done. And if you've already been there before, you already have the success. So with that, I look at where I'm going to be. And being so emotionally connected, I could see it right now. I could see myself where I'm going to be right now in my mind's eye, 20 years from now, how I'm going to sit there overlooking the cliff and the ocean, what it's going to feel like fulfillment-wise, what I'm going to accomplish, and if I stole that guy and brought him to right here, how would I act, talk, and how would I go into that event? And I wouldn't give a crap.
Right.
I would go there and serve them as best as humanly possible, and afterwards...
And what do you see? You've mentioned that a couple of times. Like, what is that vision? Can you spell it out verbally?
Yeah, so I need to do this again to see if I can try to get more of it. But basically what I do is I did this one time, and I've just held on to the same vision the entire time. I laid on my carpet in my house with Amanda for 10 minutes. We turned on music, and we just sat there and let our minds drift into the future. What life's going to be like. Are we going to have flying cars and all this crap? No one gives a crap about your stuff. What are you going to feel like? What's your confidence going to be like? What are you going to accomplish? Like, what's life going to feel like and look like internally? Because that's what matters. And I picture myself on this yacht, in the front of the yacht, looking over the ocean. I'm sitting there, like, feeling this deep sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. Like, wow. Like, just that feeling of awe. And on the yacht is all my family. I have a stepmom, stepdad, mom, dad, grandmas, grandpas, mother-in-law, father-in-law. Like, I have so many freaking family members, it's stupid. And I think of all of them being on the ship because they never spend time together. They're stuck on the ship because we're not on land. And they're also on the ship together because it's so magnificent that they would get on it because they've never experienced anything like it before. And so that thought to me and that feeling that I have, because that's the key. You can picture things, put them on a vision board all day, put it on your slide deck, listen to the music.
It's more about feeling it.
Dude, feeling is the only thing that matters.
Right.
Because if I can feel it, then it's real. Because, like, think about it. Like, what literally sitting there and craving ice cream gets you to take action and get it. Like, you can sit there and crave it, and you can feel it, and you're like, oh, this is so good. That actually the craving is better than the ice cream sometimes.
Right.
The craving of sex, right? Like, oh, my gosh, like the lust for it. You're like, oh, my gosh, like I need this right now.
Right.
That almost can be more overwhelming and intense than the actual act of it.
Right.
So with that experience is so real that it is real. Like, right now I could think of a lemon. Think of a lemon if you're listening to this right now, and just think of it in your mouth, just like squirting in your mouth this lemon, and your mouth starts to water. There's nothing there. There's a physical reaction that happens when you think about it and you feel it. And if you can do that, then all of a sudden you're tied to it. That's the reason I can think of it and go back to that moment. It's like a memory, but it's in the future.
Right.
And so I've noticed the most successful people in the world live out of memory, basically. Like, I know where I'm at, and so I know the beginning from the end. So now I'm here.
Just kind of reverse engineering from the end point, pretty much.
If you threw me back in my 6-year-old body right now, I'd crush it.
Right.
Now I'm kind of doing the same thing. From my 46-year-old body, I'm throwing myself in my 26-year-old body.
Right.
And I'm going to crush it.
Right.
Like, that's my thought through it.
That's awesome, man. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a really unique way of thinking about that, and I think that that's very rare to have a mindset where you can actually, like, put those feelings into place. And I think I feel like I could do that kind of subconsciously, but you just perfectly verbalized that.
Everyone should do it too. Like, you have to sit there and let your mind wander.
Yeah.
Find that moment that's so sweet that it's like an obsession. I've had many times I've had obsessions. That's my wife. We first got married. I got into coffee. I bought a $3,400 espresso machine. Got so obsessed. I stayed up every night.
You do bulletproof coffee, right?
I do bulletproof a lot of times. But this was just like an actual espresso machine.
Yeah.
Full on. So I got so obsessed with it that I stayed up every night, reading articles, learning everything about it. I paid a cafe to teach me how to make coffee. I didn't even work there. I paid them to work in their cafe, basically. And I learned how to do it until I got so obsessed I spent every dime I had on it. And then I got obsessed with motocross again. And I spent 9 months. I watched 5 hours of film every day. Became so obsessed until I got the bike and went after it. I became so obsessed with golf. I golfed every single day. I at least hit a bucket of balls every day for an entire year. I played golf 3 to 4 times a week with a professional every single week because I became so obsessed. I went from shooting 120 to in the 70s. I once shot 2 under par in 9 holes. So that was my best, like, front 9 or back 9, both of them. Negative 2, which is just crazy in 1 year. Why? Because I became so obsessed with that feeling. I could see it, I could feel it. I became so obsessed with it that it had to happen. And that's what I look at with my future. It's like, how can I emotionalize something? If a car isn't doing it, then find something else. But if a car's doing it, then fine. Like, obsess over that sumbitch until you get it. Like, and it'll happen so quick. But so many people go through life with this, like, lull of, like, here's the things I want, but I don't really want them that bad. Like, it's not really that bad. And that's just crazy to me. Like, I'm always looking for that, like, what's that thing that I want so bad that I become so obsessed that every single night I go to bed like that?
That's probably the biggest challenge. I mean, how would you suggest people really find that obsession? That's probably the biggest thing is people know they want an obsession, but they're just, like, kind of half-ass in and out of life. Where do they find that obsession? How do they capture that the way that you did?
I feel like there's a lot of different ways. I love community. This is, like, one of the biggest things for me is that every single musician always learns how to play an instrument from someone else and plays other people's chords, other people's music, other people's like ladders. Every single thing is someone else's. And then after they get really good, they start to know their genre they like. And then once they know their genre, they start thinking, like, maybe I'll write some of my own music. But first it all comes from, like, what are they gravitated towards? What type of life? Like, who do you know that has a life that you want? Gravitate towards that. Get around those people.
Whether it's selling rocks by the highway and being the best damn person at it, or being a, multi-billionaire entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right?
Who has the life that
Surround
you
yourself
want
with
and is living it?
Yeah.
And so it's similar with the music. If you love guitar, you're not going to go, well, I'm going to go surround myself with people that play the flute. You're like, no, I'm going to surround myself with people that are good at guitar. And then you're like, dude, I love acoustic. And then you're like, I'm going to join the acoustic group. And you're like, but I like classical the most. So you start playing classical. And then you're like, I'm going to write classical music. And that all of a sudden becomes yours. At this point, you've played everyone else's music. You have other people's visions. I first adopted everyone else's. What cars do other people like? What houses do other people like? How many people do other people want to help? What does their goals look like for the year? I still do. My mentor, Cole Hatter, was like, my goal isn't to have New Year's resolutions. My goal is to get around better people this year, to surround myself with better people. I was like, that's good.
Yeah.
I wrote it on mine. I was like, I can feel that. I'm going to play that music. I'm going to play that song. I love that song. It sounds good. I'm going to play that song until I come up with my own that's better. But until then, I'm going to model it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get around those people. And I invest tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to get around good people. And so I don't just think about it and dream about it. I actually go out there and I do things physically to declare it. Tony Robbins says, make decisions while you're in state. Meaning, when you're in state, do something that's going to get you committed to following through.
Right.
A lot of times for me, that's like a monetary investment. Deciding, like, I'm going to be a part of this group, and that's what DEM, they have a mastermind, and people can pay to be a part of it.
Right.
That payment gets them to show up, even when life sucks the next week. So you pay while you're in state. When you're pumped, make that declaration. Then from there, you stick with it, and then if you stick with it, you get results, and those results give you feeling.
Yeah.
So many people quit before they get the feeling.
I'm going to wrap it up there. We're going to start wrapping up here, man, because I want to give you enough time to go network with these Denver elite men. But, dude, thank you so much for coming on. And first off, podcast, how can people find your podcast, and how can people get into contact with you?
Yeah, Nicholas Bailey on Instagram is the best. Like, I show stories. Like, I'm always showing, like, behind the scenes on our life, and it's where I'm always active, and it's really where I'm putting a lot of my focus.
Yeah.
Outside of that, the Billion Dollar Body Podcast is a great way to connect. And for any men out there, in general, I think Instagram will be the best place. Like, I'll be able to shoot them from there. Yeah. Let me know what you liked. Like, I get messages on Instagram, Facebook, and email every single day from shows.
You're on every social platform, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, every social platform. But to get the most value for anyone who's listening right now is going to be on Instagram. That's where we're going to be dropping the most fire.
Awesome.
And we have a private Facebook group, but I'll tell them about that after Instagram.
Cool. And then, so get in contact with you on social. And what's your podcast again?
The Billion Dollar Body.
Billion Dollar Body. You're on all podcast platforms?
Yeah, I'm on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, like pretty much.
Oh, I need to ask you about Spotify. There's no clear submission there.
Just message us. We'll tell you how to do it.
All right, we'll figure it out later.
Done.
Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Yeah,
really appreciate it. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll chat with you next time.